Hey, welcome. Today we're jumping into one of the most well-known stories in the New Testament, Jesus' very first miracle. And what's so fascinating is where it happens. It's not in a synagogue or during some big sermon. Nope, it's at a party, a wedding in a little village called Cana.
So let's start right here with this passage from the Gospel of John. This is the foundation for everything we're going to talk about. It sets the whole scene, right? You've got a social crisis, a really interesting family moment, and a turning point that's about to reveal something absolutely massive about who Jesus is. It's the first glimpse of what our sources call his creative power.
Okay, so to really get the weight of what happens next, you have to picture the scene. This is not just any party. We're talking about a first-century Jewish wedding in this tiny village of Cana. It's a huge deal for the entire community.
Yeah, so you can just forget everything you think you know about modern weddings. This was not a one-day thing. It was basically a week-long festival for the whole town. Imagine the pressure on the family hosting this. It was a massive, massive undertaking and a real test of their hospitality.
And who's on the guest list? Jesus, his mother Mary, and his newly minted disciples. Now, their being there is actually really important. First, it just shows that Jesus was a social person, He enjoyed celebrating with people. But on a deeper level, by being there, he was giving his blessing, his stamp of approval on the whole institution of marriage.
All right, so the party's in full swing, everything's going great, and then disaster strikes. And it's this one problem that really gets the whole story rolling.
Can you just imagine it? The whole community is there, you're days into the celebration, and then the word gets out, the wine is gone. The absolute worst thing that could happen.
And look, this wasn't just a small inconvenience, like running out of ice. In that culture, hospitality was absolutely everything. To run out of wine would have been a major social failure. It would bring just huge shame and embarrassment on the groom and his family that they would have to live with for years.
Now Mary sees this crisis unfolding. Some sources even think she might have been helping out with the hosting. But she doesn't cause a scene. She doesn't panic. She just takes this very real, very human problem and brings it straight to her son.
And this is where the whole story pivots. What started as just a social disaster is about to become the backdrop for an incredible spiritual revelation. Jesus' response is about to take this to a whole new level.
You can really see two different perspectives here, can't you? Mary, understandably, is focused on the immediate problem, keeping the party going, avoiding embarrassment. But Jesus? He sees a much bigger picture. He's looking at an opportunity to point to his real mission, which is about our deep spiritual need, not just our temporary comfort.
So when Jesus says to his mother, "My hour has not yet come," he isn't being rude or dismissing her. He's actually clarifying his true purpose. If you look through the Gospel of John, this phrase, "my hour," it always points to the cross. It points to the ultimate reason he came to earth. He's gently teaching her and everyone that his mission is way bigger than just solving party problems.
But here's the thing. Even after making that big point about his ultimate purpose, he still cares about the immediate problem. And the way he handles it is just amazing. There's no big spectacle, no flashy show, just a simple, quiet command, unquestioning obedience from the servants, and a reality-bending result. Plain old water becomes the best wine of the party.
And the choice of what he used is so important. These weren't just random barrels. They were huge stone water pots specifically used for Jewish ceremonial washing, for purification rites. So by using these symbols of the old religious system to create something totally new and joyful, Jesus was sending a message. He was signaling that he came to bring a new, better kind of spiritual cleansing, one based on his grace, not on empty rituals.
So, what's the takeaway from all this? What was the actual result of this incredible act? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It had these three distinct effects that kind of rippled out from that one moment.
First, and most obviously, the immediate problem was solved. The family was saved from total humiliation, and the wedding feast went on. It shows us a Christ who cares about our real, human, everyday problems. But that's just scratching the surface.
Second, and this is the really deep part, this event is what the Bible calls a sign. Now, a sign isn't just a trick, it's a miracle that points to a bigger reality. And this very first sign manifested his glory. It showed his creative power and pointed straight to his identity as the divine Son of God.
And finally, this sign was powerful, concrete proof for his closest followers. The text is super clear about it, and his disciples believed in him.
For them, this wasn't just some amazing feat. It was the confirmation they needed that their teacher really was the Messiah they have been waiting for.
And that really brings us to the whole point of why these stories were even written down. These miracles were never just about showing off power. They were recorded as signs, as open invitations for every single one of us in every generation to believe.
So, as we wrap this up, it's pretty clear that the wedding at Cana was so much more than a miracle that saved a party. It was a declaration. It was a sign pointing to who Jesus is, the Creator. It pointed to his purpose, to bring new spiritual life, and it showed his compassion for our normal everyday needs. The story shows us that even in a simple crisis, something way bigger can be revealed. It kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What are the signs in our own lives trying to point us to?